Hello and welcome. Welcome back to the Electric Car Hangout. It's been a while. I actually completely blanked on January, and then yesterday was a big shoveling day here in Minnesota, and was working on another project I had to get out. So missed the last Wednesday of the month this month too, but thought I'd come on today because not only is it almost the last Wednesday of the month, we have some exciting news about the Magic Dock finally being installed in some Superchargers. And so I wanted to talk about that and get you guys' opinion. Hey, Todd. Hey, I never know how to say that name. Uh, it's like Diablo Smith or DBIO Smith. I'm not sure how you go by, but that wasn't good English either. But anyway, welcome. Glad you guys are here. Um, so this just kind of came out of the blue. We knew Tesla was going to open up the supercharger network. We had the big announcement from the White House maybe a week and a half ago, that they were saying that Elon and Tesla was going to open up a portion of the supercharger network to CCS vehicles and the destination chargers, although they're basically already open. Um, so that's pretty cool that was going to happen, and I think we all kind of had rumblings. We knew this was coming. So, um, Steve, welcome. Birch, welcome. And Tinker Try, Paul, welcome as well. Thanks for joining. And Steve and I actually had an interesting interaction on Twitter about this morning. The first photos came up, and I'll bring up the my second screen here with Electrek's article about this. And let's go full screen so you guys don't see a mess. You just see all their ads. So these pictures were posted on Reddit this morning, I guess, and so and one of them was, I guess, sent to Electrek. So they did, their very quick. Hey, Alex, welcome. I know Alex and Brandon are talking about this on their Monday podcast too. He just posted that on Twitter. So um, I'm blanking on the name of it. I'm completely blanking on the name of your podcast. Sorry about that. Put it in the chat so people can find it and hear your take on it. But anyway, these pictures showed up, and everybody was like, "Oh wow, this is really happening." And I'll scroll down here, and we can see kind of the close-up of what it actually looks like in the stall. And I found it really curious. Somebody else was posting that too, that these were posted in upstate New York. And so, for those of you who don't know, let me go back because not everybody knows this. But basically, the Magic Dock is this piece installed where the handle used to connect to a supercharger. It still does in here. But if you show up with a CCS vehicle and have the Tesla app and unlock a certain station, when you pull the handle, this piece will come out too, and that's an adapter to CCS from the Tesla connector or NCAS, however you want to call that. But then CCS vehicles will be able to charge through the supercharger and just pay through the app like Tesla owners would. So this is very cool, very ingenious way to open it up. When Elon, I think a year or so ago, said, yeah, there will be some sort of adapter, and I'm thinking, is there going to be a cabinet next to the superchargers where you like check out, okay, I've got, adapter 53, and I got to put that back or I'll get charged for it or whatever. And I was thinking that's going to be really sloppy. But this all just seems to lock internally. And so, we'll see how this goes. But like I was saying earlier this morning, let me show you where this is. If I can manage my screens here. So this is in upstate New York, as they call it in the biz. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of a weird, out of the blue place to have your first install. And then people were pointing out that it's not too far from Buffalo, where the plant is, where they're actually building the supercharger hardware. So it makes sense to have a nearby. It seems like with the other ones closer, I don't know exactly where the factory is, but it seems like maybe one of these other ones would have been smarter. But so Steve was talking about kind of where this is, and interesting that it's near a bunch of other CCS infrastructure. And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong on what you were saying, but and the thought was that maybe maybe having it near other CCS with a brand new technology they're rolling out, brand new adapters. If this fails, you don't want people to be stranded. So for a pilot program to be near a bunch of other CCS infrastructure, this probably makes a lot of sense, because I've always kind of hoped that they would open up in like the Dakotas or Montana or somewhere where, people can't go right now with a CCS vehicle. And so to have it here near other CCS is kind of counterintuitive, but I think Steve had the good point that it's a good backup, and it's close to the plant. So if something goes wrong, they can hopefully, drivers can get to another charging solution, which would be odd if like Tesla is suddenly the unreliable one. I hope that doesn't happen, but a driver could get to another CCS charging spot. And Tesla, if something's completely wrong, they need to be constantly running back and forth to these cabinets, tweaking the design before it goes wide. It makes sense that it's near the Buffalo facility. So really love to hear what you guys are thinking about this. And I just saw, I kind of hate to show this because I don't want to steal someone else's content, but just as I was, what is this? That's something I want to talk about later. So here, Anthony Henson EV, at Anthony Henson EV, posted this little video where he actually went to the site and checked it out. And I'll let you look it up for yourself, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to steal his content. But this quality is not great, full screen. Let me back it down here. But as you look at it, I was thinking this was just like one stall to check it, but as he pans across here, you can see that at least the first 4 of them have it in there, and I wonder if they did the entire supercharger installation with the Magic Dock, because I was kind of thinking, well, maybe they'll have 2 stalls for CCS and kind of roll it out more stations, but fewer pedestals at each station. So it's really interesting that it looks like, and I did ask him, let's see if one of these notifications is an answer. No. So it'll be interesting to see if it is all stations with the Magic Dock. He does, there you can see him pulling it out there.
But once again, you cannot.
And then a Tesla owner walking up to it wouldn't be able to. I mean, unless they wanted to unleash that through the app. I don't know why they would, but so it's pretty exciting. Definitely check this video out if you're on Twitter, because it's pretty interesting, and he gets close up, and it'll be better quality you looking at it at home rather than me looking at a a copy here and then transferring it to you. So we'll talk about internet in just a little bit because we just had a ton of snow and we're doing this live stream over Starlink. So if there's a bunch of drops, let me know. That would be interesting. But so far it seemed relatively stable. So just want to check back. Jim, hi, welcome. John, welcome. Glenn, welcome. Jason. Yeah, I'm just going to catch up on some of these chats here. Living Electric, thank you, Alex. I'm sorry. I know that you just tweeted it and I read it and then it went right out of my head. Like, how can I forget that? Sorry about that. Living Electric podcast. So it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say about it. I think it's great for the EV movement that they open things up, but I think the Magic Dock is a mistake. Interesting. Why is that? Because of potential breakage? Because one has to go through another? Why are you thinking this way to go is a mistake? That's probably your next comment here. They should make them buy an adapter, link the adapter to the app, so they can effectively play with their linked adapter. Yeah, they could do something like that, but I wonder if, and maybe that once they've used all of their Magic Dock adapters, and this is in pretty wide release for people to use, then once they have a surplus of those, I wonder if it will be something you can buy. But like the CCS to Tesla adapter, I'm wondering if they want to keep it dumb, where it's just a power transfer element. And if you had to link the adapter to the app, would there have to be some kind of, I guess there could be a QR code on it or something, but I don't know how they would know it's your adapter that's being plugged in unless there were some electronics in it. And then does that make it more complex? If it's more complex, is it more expensive and also, prone to, drop damage or something like that would damage that part of it? I don't know. I am not an engineer. I don't even own a train. John says still need to make the cable longer. Yeah, I'm surprised. The cable seems to be the same length. So, again, it'll be interesting as people start using this, what the... I'm going to back out here a little bit so you can see what that's not on there. It'll be interesting to see if people are having issues with people parking wrong, with, just... again, maybe that's why it's near Buffalo. Maybe that's the intent is to see how this goes, see if they need to make modifications. Then they can take those modifications right down the road to Buffalo and, modify how the stalls, maybe how the spacing of the stalls or cable lengths or whatever. So that'll be interesting. Jason says, why Verona, New York? Seems like the one right there in Buffalo would be the best location. Yeah, that's an odd question. I don't know. But maybe, it's possible. This is the one people have seen. Tesla hasn't said anything about this. One of these in Buffalo could have that and just nobody's noticed or bothered to notice, or, they aren't on Reddit or whatever. So, it's possible, this could be the second one, or, whatever, third. It could be less usage, that it's between towns rather than, but still you'd think they would go between Buffalo and Rochester. I don't know. Yeah, it was good for a road trip in the company Rivian. Yeah, that was cool that they chose a Rivian to be the test mule. Steve says Utica heading east and Syracuse heading west are now quite well served for New York thruway travelers. Okay. John says, on existing stations, are they making the cable longer? I don't know. But this seems like it was an existing station. Well, it must have been because the tag is still up here. And right now, the website isn't updated. Somebody said on the app, if you update the app, it might have this available. I saw that like right before I came on live, so I haven't had a chance to check that out. Paul says the cable actually appears to be slightly shorter. Yeah, the V3 cables seem short. So, well, I don't know. It could just be the cable size difference makes the length feel different. I'm not sure, but there's probably a filthy joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to make it. John says they're going to need to put some kind of cable or retraction system on a longer cable. Yeah, if they put a longer cable. Well, they were talking about, and I don't know if it's just the semi-chargers, the mega chargers, that they were going to be significantly taller. So I don't know if that would have more play. And so maybe these retrofit stations will be these shorter cables and maybe not as usable. And then when they put the V4 superchargers out, they'll be taller with longer cables, and so it won't drag, but it'll still have plenty of length to get to a vehicle. That'll be interesting. Paul says at Verona it was all stations. Okay, that's not how I figured they'd roll it out, and maybe it won't be how they do it, nationally. But I guess if you're going to try it, and this is your pilot program, you want as many examples of people using different handles, getting a different treatment, and everything. Steve says, I think this might work for our Ioniq 5 rear passenger side port. Looks like it would be awkward parking for a front drive side like Chevy Bolt or Mach-E. Yeah, those are further up the body. The Lightning, too, are further toward the A-pillar. Rivian should, well, we know Rivian's fine. They tested it on one. But it should be able to pull in pretty straight and get it. Brian, for a road trip and go see it in person? I'd love to. That'd be fantastic. Craig, hi, if I didn't say hi already. The biggest win will be the cables no longer falling on the ground in the winter. Yeah, if it's got a more secure, it's going to have to have a more secure latch system if they're going to, if they're going to be married. So, yeah, that's a great plus, Craig. Good thinking there. Any bets on the March 1st Magic Dot deets? I would guess, yeah, we'll get a lot of. It would be cool to get a map at that point, even if it's not on the Supercharger map. If they just say, this is kind of how we're thinking of deploying this across the country and into Canada, presumably. I'm guessing it's going to get brought up. I don't know if we'll get that level of detail or input, but yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to learn more. I have a feeling next week is going to be some pretty big news after big news after big news. I try not to get my hopes up on Tesla events, but there's a lot of rumblings and a lot of stuff happening like this where I think they're going to make a pretty interesting presentation. Even if it's not all vehicle based, some of this stuff is still pretty interesting. Paul, I don't think you can add a link into the chat. Sorry. Magic Dock install requires a new cable. Yeah, I'm wondering if these are completely new, like, pedestals where they just unbolt from the bottom and drop a new one in there, or if it can be retrofitted onto an existing pedestal, because that would obviously save a lot of money if they can do that. Yeah, if the dock is a hunk of plastic, it would make sense the cable would be just a few inches shorter. Yeah, unless they were trying to the Supercharger only opened last October. Interesting. That's interesting that they'd do that and then retrofit so quickly, but sometimes they move fast and it's not necessarily logical. Yeah, John's worried about people getting into fights at Superchargers. I hope not. I hope everybody can be cool. I think in the app, Brandon Flash had a video. I think he actually just relayed. I'll put it in the show in the description after the show's over, where he was kind of showing how it gives you instructions on how to park, because he tried this in Europe and was also going to I think it was just a destination charger, but it was part of the Supercharger install. And so you could pay by using the app, and it had instructions, and it was kind of like, hey, everybody be cool, and this is how you pull in, and hopefully people will heed that. And even if there's one or two embarrassing times, hopefully people get the hang of it pretty quickly. Alex, they've been very lackluster with events and announcements. Yeah, I kind of hope that's been on purpose. So many people are talking about how the semi's so late, the Roadster's so late, the Cybertruck's so late, that I think the last handful of events have kind of been, we're going to do the event we're saying we're doing, and then nothing else, and then we'll get to the other stuff later. Alex says, I imagine that's because they're working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, and I think that's where I think the March 1st event might be pretty interesting, because I think we'll see some of this stuff. Like I said, a couple people have said there's going to be a new vehicle announced or something like that. I'm not 100% we're going to get a lot more detail other than just like, yeah, we've got this, cheaper, more economy vehicle coming, and it's going to, fit into Elon's master plan part 3 in these ways. But it might still be a generic, it'll be generally like this. We'll announce it later. I hope not. It would be great to get a new vehicle announcement, even if it's a year or two away. That'd be interesting. And then totally lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. I guess I was going to say, with the lackluster events, over the last couple of years, this is kind of off the charging topic, but sidebar, the complaint has kind of been that there's no Tesla doesn't have a PR department, and they should be doing this and that. And lately, they've actually been putting out some YouTube videos that they did kind of a fun one for Valentine's Day with the robots, like, as being on like a dating site and giving their profile. But they've been doing some other like helpful, like, basics of charging, basics of road tripping, destination charges, where they're just, 1 to 3 minute videos about life with your EV. And so I've been enjoying those. They're not real deep or anything, but it's kind of the good kind of stuff that they should be putting out there. And yesterday was the event where they basically, it was a just kind of, hey, we're still invested in California. We're doing our new engineering headquarters is going to be in Palo Alto. The governor was there, and so on one hand, it's just good PR to see Elon out making nice with everybody. So that's good PR in itself. Showing, hey, we can get along. We don't have to agree on everything. Water under the bridge. We're investing in California. We're one of the big points of the evening was, we're building the future, and it's the engineering side stuff is happening here, and it was just kind of a showcase of how much how much Tesla has grown from its start in California to where they are now. I think he said that at this point they have 46 every day. They contribute $46 million to the California economy. So that's just kind of good PR stuff to get out there. This event was not real groundbreaking, thrilling. I think it was more of a party for the employees and things, and so that's fine. But they just kind of took the opportunity. They had a short, like 6-minute video with the governor, and so showing that you can work and play nice in Texas, showing you can work and play nice in California. I think that's good for a company to play nice with everybody, within reason. Obviously, there are times you got to get a little tougher, but I thought this event was just a good, simple, pretty basic company saying, hey, we're here, we're going to build the future, we want you to come along. So again, a brief video. Most of the video is the intro because of course it didn't start on time. But just kind of hyping up, hey, we want to build the future. We want you there with us. Tune in next week when we're going to do this event, and we're going to try to get everybody to be a stakeholder in building a better future for the world. So that's the kind of messaging I like to see out in see them putting out there. So I'm going to hi again. You don't need to see me scroll around that YouTube page. Alex, do I still think it will be 25K? I don't know. That's going to be tough. I hope so. It would be worth looking back. I don't know if I have the time to do this, but it would be interesting to look back and see when the last time they said 25,000. It may have been Battery Day, and a lot's happened since Battery Day, so I don't know. But if it might be one of those, it's 25K with the tax incentives. But if it can be small and LFP and maybe 150 miles of real world range, maybe they call it 200 or something. For just like a city car kind of deal, it's possible. I guess it depends on how much margin they want to make on it too, because like Tesla's got such a premium. They make so much per car. And on one hand, it's like, well, just lower the prices, don't make as much, and then we could have the cheaper cars. But that's the kind of the supply and demand thing. They lowered the prices, and then now they've slowly been rising because, hey, everybody loves those lower prices, and then orders the cars. And then, oh, well, now you're not going to get it for 6 months, 8 months, that's going to get pushed back. So they raise the price again. So I don't know. I would hope so. But I also don't think it's going to be here for another year or two. Promise I'm not a contrarian, but I hope it's not a vehicle announcement. He's already starting to be called the king of vaporware. I can see that. As anxious as I am about seeing what this $25,000 car or whatever it's going to be, I would almost rather do that in the fall once Cybertrucks have been delivered, assuming Cybertrucks will be delivered in the summer. At least the very first ones. I know volume production will be next year, but I'm hoping I would kind of like more semis on the road and the Cybertruck to actually be in non-employee customers' hands, at least some of them, before we get real details or a big announcement on the next vehicle. That's part of why I'm thinking next week they're going to talk in generalities about the robo-taxi, or there's the internet's got a bunch of names for what this vehicle will be called, but I think the smart move to stay away from that vaporware. I saw somebody post on Twitter today that one of the Cybertrucks on display at Palo Alto was the basically clay model, and that just proves they're never going to make the Cybertruck. It's vaporware. It's never coming. It's like, well, no, it's there are several prototypes people have done spy shots of. There's the one with a giant windshield wiper. There's the one with the pointy mirrors, and we've seen different versions of it. They're working on it. They're not doing all that to pump the stock and then never create it. That would just tank the stock down the road. That doesn't make any sense. So it's gonna be here, but it's going to be obviously very late. And I'd like to see more semis on the road and stop seeing the semi had to be towed stories, which that it's a brand new platform, and the whole point of and I think it's Pepsi's understanding too that we're going to put these trucks through the ringer and test them and find problems before we start delivering them to everybody. While production is still ramping up and everything. So I think it's unfortunate some of them have had to be towed, or maybe it's just one that is a lemon or something. But, that kind of stuff I take with a grain of salt. You never know. Maybe it was a tire issue, or maybe, there's some other reason, other than just, well, it's a hunk of crap and it'll never work. So at this stage, I'd just like to see more of those, actually making deliveries instead of just making appearances, places and stuff. But it's exciting to see them out and about. I hope the announcements are concrete about things we want to know about. Cybertruck, more on semi, concrete roll-up plan for the Magic Dock roll-up. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel that way too. I was, like I was saying, but just here's where we are on the things. Like maybe a broad picture of this is where we want to get with scale production. Maybe the Mexico factory. Maybe who knows? Maybe India or wherever. Give a picture of where we want to be, where we want. What needs to be produced for this future vision, and then go from there into okay, and that's the future. Here's how we're getting there with incremental steps, and this is where we are today on this project. doing LFP, in some of these lower cost models, trying to keep the costs down. If they've got an actual, demonstration of their technique for lithium extraction, if it's real and scalable, then show that kind of thing. Like I said, or like you were saying, really concrete things where you can say, this isn't aspirational. They're actually doing this, and the next step is just ramp these things up. So it'll be interesting. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on that presentation. So it does need to have some substance, I think, or people are going to be pretty put out. John says, highly likely third generation vehicle will be announced and possibly make an appearance given the multiple photos of it showing up in social media. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure all those posts are real. I haven't looked too closely on it, but somebody was saying like there's a gas tank, and they could be camouflaging. I don't know. It's just a little odd. I'm kind of holding my breath for the real announcement. Probably details on Magic Dock rollout, possibly even Supercharger version 4. Yeah, I think we'll definitely see that, and hopefully see it in use. Maybe on a semi, or maybe on a Cybertruck. That would be really cool. To actually take you in and see, okay, this works on the semi, and this is how we're going to charge these really fast, and we've got them up at Pepsi already, but we're going to start rolling these out around the country and see what it does on the Cybertruck. Like, that would be really a cool demonstration. And one of the things with Tesla events is I think the team does a really good job of making, like the Cybertruck reveal had a bunch of demonstrations and things and stuff in the slide deck. And Elon gets on stage and everybody starts yelling at him, and he's like, hey, to the moon, all that stuff. And then kind of skips info on some of the slides. And, with the Cybertruck Windows situation, I think they skipped other demos and just kind of went like, let's get to the end, and here's this. We got to fix these windows. So hopefully, I don't know how well attended by like retail investors and more fan kind of people this will be. But on these events, I kind of always want the crowd to, cheer and be excited, but not like as Elon's talking, yell stuff out to him and distract him. Like, so I'm hoping he can be focused and, really, like you said, give good concrete walkthroughs of what they're talking about. That's my hope. Tesla started Supercharger site construction, altering layout to accommodate in-place upgrades to new pedestals. Base is more centered than the lines. Okay, yeah. I have heard that before. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out in new construction once they start rolling out. Alex says battery day. Yes, that was the last in 2020 was the last time they actually said $25,000. So we'll see if that comes true. If they introduce the Model 2, then already I don't care about the robotaxi. I think FSD beta has got to get a lot better before they even think about a robotaxi. Yeah, it probably makes sense to be planning the vehicle, like on their end, not necessarily announcing it, but probably planning it, and then kind of waiting for the software to catch up. I'm really interested to see if version 11, as it rolls out, if it's going to be a significant change to what beta does now, or if it's just going to be the same thing and we're bolting on the navigate on autopilot elements, which might be great because a frequent takeover I have when I drive with it is the transition of going from beta on an on-ramp to then the navigate on autopilot stack that's going to do the highway stuff. And those are my most pucker-filled moments of like, nope, I'm taking over here. Nope, I'm going to, because you're basically going from a situation of slower driving to entering or leaving, vehicles traveling at a much different rate of speed. And so that's an area where I'm very eager to take over if there's the least indication of something not doing it how I would. So hopefully, we'll see how that transition goes. But the last version of beta that I have, I think I'm up to date with whatever we're on now, has been pretty solid. I've actually got an issue with my driver's repeater camera is not initializing. I don't know if it's just not seated tight enough in the cable or what, so I need to have that looked at. It will come on occasionally, and then I'll have another drive and it says not available. So just something I need to get looked at before I can even be testing it. Alex says, my favorite line from Elon in the event last night was, "We make the impossible merely late." Yeah, that's a good take on it. And I think that's there's so much frustration with Cybertruck's late, the Semi was late, the Beta's late. The post has been going around recently about a couple years ago. Maybe it may have even been 2016, where he said, in 2 years you'll be able to summon your car to LA from New York. And obviously, we're way behind that. But nobody else is near that yet either. So, things just take longer than expected. There's, Ellie and I did a video a couple weeks ago about FSD, or not FSD beta, Mercedes-Benz, I can't think of what it's called, Driver Plus. Yeah, I think it's Driver Plus. And that they're approved now in Nevada to do level 3. I don't think the vehicle's going to be ready till the end of this year, but they're available to do level 3 autonomy under 40 miles an hour on pre-marked highways without changing lanes, and so that it's pretty confined. But it's great marketing for them to say we're the first level 3 system, and I think that it's good that they're progressing and doing all those things. But it's their goal is to do that, not do anything more, presumably. And as we were kind of talking about that, I was down at the hardware store, the Menards, which is like a Home Depot or Lowe's or that kind of place. Absolutely packed parking lot. And it kind of struck me that thinking, because I had that system on my mind, and we had been talking about Blue Cruise, Super Cruise, and what those are kind of doing and aiming for. And I thought, FSD beta still has a long way to go, obviously. But of all the vehicles in this parking lot, my car and maybe a couple other Teslas that might be here are the only ones that even have a shot at getting me home without an intervention. Like, none of the other vehicles, the Mercedes level 3 system, can't do that and can't even attempt that. And so, that was a pretty profound moment of like, yeah, it's not perfect. And of course, on the way back home, I did have to intervene. But but none of the other vehicles in that parking lot of, a couple hundred cars even, had a remote chance of making that happen. So although it's not perfect, it's pretty good, and compared to, what's out there, it can do some pretty special things with supervision. Glenn, thank you very much. Super sticker. Let's see. I think you guys can see that, but I'm also getting a. Oh, it's wanting me to edit the. Unfortunately, this software doesn't. On YouTube, I don't think you're seeing this, but this software doesn't show. But I love these descriptions. But thank you very much for the super sticker, Glenn. I appreciate that. Paracharacter flying in the air with a red cape and a smile on his face. Those descriptions are fantastic. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Definitely feels like the Roadster is on infinite hold. I forgot that was even in the works. Yeah. It's. I think they kind of put all the stuff they were going to put into that in the Plaid, and then they're like, well, let's just do the Plaid, and then kind of had the moment of, oh, people are still expecting this thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting when that comes out. But I do think, it's, if you're mission focused, that's a small part of the mission, other than just proving how great EVs can be. So it's interesting. Roland, hey. Hope you guys aren't too cold up there in Williston, North Dakota. Forgot to ask Jason too what the weather was like up there, because for those who don't know, I'm in Minnesota. We just had a pretty big snowfall. Wasn't as epic as everybody said it was going to be, but that's kind of usually the case. However, my snowblower did die, and so the 20-ish inches we got over the last few days was all done by shovel. So after this, I'm going to bed, probably with some Motrin or something. Has anyone got an invite for the March event? No, I'm not registered. I do have a couple Tesla shares, not enough to make a huge difference in life. More of a, yeah, I'll support it, and if it blows up, hey, that'd be great. But I haven't registered with their investor relations as being a shareholder. Yeah, I don't get the invites. I know my friend Dan is lobbying hard on Twitter to get an invite, but I don't think he's got one yet. Without changing lanes on pre-mapped only when the sun isn't shining with the lead car. Yeah, it's very restrictive, to put politely. For my money, the Mercedes is a big nothing. It still nags. Yeah, so that I didn't really want to get down this road, but I'm really interested, since we have other people here. I want your opinions on this, because during one of the videos we reviewed, the system had him take over, and the thought was it was because the sun was blinding the camera. And I'm all for putting whatever tech you need to accomplish this. Let's make the road safer. Tesla's doing their approach. Other people have other approaches, and we'll see what works in the end. I don't care. Obviously, I want my FSD to work, but whatever makes the road safer, I'm completely happy with it. If Tesla's got to scrap their thing and buy somebody else's to have a safer world, I'm all for it. But I was thinking about, okay, the sun blinds the camera, and the system has to turn off. Then what is the point of having the LiDAR and the ultrasonics and the rain sensor if if you have all of these as a backup, but your backups aren't robust enough to do the task, if your primary sensor is occluded, then what's the point of that? Isn't that just a whole bunch of extra expense that you're putting on there for show to make, like that really, the more I thought about that, it really boggled my mind, because I would think with the LiDAR system, oh yeah, we get some sun glare on the camera, LiDAR says everything's clear, we were clear beforehand, let's give it, 5 seconds of glare, and we should be, we should still be safe because we can still sense that car. Ooh, that was a good 3D effect. Ooh. We can still sense that the car in front of us is still in front of us. We should be able to see everything, mapped out on the road through the LiDAR system. If you can do that, couldn't you have a couple seconds of occluded vision? And if you can't, do you need a secondary vision system? Because if all those backups can't take over, then it's still pretty limited. So I found that pretty interesting. So I'm really, am I missing something, or just not thinking about it right? Please feel free to correct me if I'm missing something. Yeah, and the fact that it still nags you is, that to me is the most annoying part. It's like everybody complains about the Tesla nags, and you're saying, oh, you can play Tetris, but you got to keep an eye out for the occasional nag. Well, then, that's just nagging. Unless it's an emergency, don't bother me. John says, on the cell phone we see the character, but not on the TV. Oh, interesting. Michael, hello. Yes, March 1st will be interesting. Version 11 soon. Seems to have nice improvements. Yeah, the little clips I've seen of, employees or whoever, kind of holding the camera up to the side, and I've watched a couple little pieces, and it does seem like some of those transition moments are better. But we'll see how it is and see how people are responding to it around the country. They say a hardware 4 retrofit is out, but I wonder if we can still just get the radar added. Apparently, on Twitter, there's a guy called Green the Only who does like white hat hacking of like Tesla stuff, and he was saying the ports on the new radar are different. So it would be, I think, a pretty significant change to be able to put that radar in. Because I was thinking about that too, because I have a radar Model Y before they turned it off with, when they went to vision only for FSD. So my car does have a radar, so it has the wiring and everything for the old radar, but it seems like this one's going to be different. Maybe they took out the ultrasonics and could be retrofitting with the HD radar. It could be. Those vehicles might have the HD radar. And just waiting for it's ready now, come into the service center, we'll pop it in and everything will work. It'll be interesting to see. I know there's a lot of debate on whether vision only will work for those vehicles. Good point. I just wish things were honest. If it's true, hands-free, no human intervention needed, then let's keep it at that. It shouldn't nag or need intervention. Yeah. Unless, like, obviously if there's a semi barreling down the wrong way on the highway or something, and like, okay, this is a situation we, definitely can't handle, get you back up here, but they say you have 10 seconds to take over. And in my mind, the only time you should need to take over is a situation like that. And at that point, it should be sirens blaring like, hey, we need you now. So I'm just kind of torn on it. It'll be interesting to see when it rolls out. Kyle Connor had an interview with a guy, and I agreed with him. It takes less concentration and effort to just drive than to be distracted. Than to be distracted and then have to jump in to save the computer randomly. Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about beta at this point. Like, not in all situations, but in a lot of situations, it's more work than driving yourself. Um, if you really want to be cautious about it, how you should. Um, there are situations where you can kind of like, okay, it's there's not a lot of traffic around, and I know it can handle these certain intersections and things once you've driven them. But um, but yeah, it takes a different type of concentration, and yeah, so there are times I've said this before, but with beta, most of the times I don't use it are when I need to get somewhere faster than I should, maybe drive a little more unsafe than I should, which is telling because it says, hey, this is actually going to be safer than people doing that kind of stuff. Um, um, but the yeah is it can be more work. Sorry. Um, Paul says, anybody else notice using autopilot on the highway now is 1 minute 38 seconds between blue pulsing nags, at least for me. I did notice that. I didn't time it, but on my last drive to and from Duluth, from the Twin Cities, there were long, it felt like really long stretches. I had my eyes, forward, but my hands on my lap, not touching the wheel, just to kind of see where are we with that eye tracking thing, and is it really, is it really making a difference? And it does seem like the nags, in most situations, were more spread out. So the other thing I wanted to ask you guys, as this has been streaming, like I said, we get about 20 inches of snow over the last 3 days. And Starlink is up on my roof, and so I'm curious how this stream is looking. I don't have the highest resolution camera in this view, but I wanted to do this stuff on the screen and show you that. So using just kind of a webcam, but interested to hear if it's cutting out for you or anything like that. And the Starlink price did go up. Starlink sent out an email a couple days ago that in high usage areas, and I'm definitely a high usage user, even if the area isn't, the price will go up $10, and in lower usage areas, they actually dropped it $20 for those people. So good for them. But I'm, and people were asking, am I going to change? Well, no, because for one, I now have a hole on my roof where I ran the cable down. But aside from that, I know there are cheaper options, but this is so hassle free, and the fact that it's worked. We did have some minor drops last night, but it was snowing very heavy last night. But I was trying to upload a video, and that was kind of cutting in and out, or slowing down. But that was a pretty intense storm we had. So I haven't had any complaints with it. It just sits up there and works, and I'm doing some editing for some other channels, and we can send big files, and I don't have to worry about it. So I like that. I like, um, not to get into the politics of it, but like that they're not only, supporting operations in Ukraine, but also bringing internet to places in Africa, South America, where you can just be in the middle of, the jungle or the Sahara or wherever. And, still get very good quality internet that you couldn't get. And, rural places in America too, and, different tribal lands and things. I think it's just a game changer. So, although it's more expensive, I do, I want to support it, and it actually just works really good for me. So glad to see it doesn't seem like anybody's seeing breaks or seeing drops. So if my throat would stop bothering me, we wouldn't have the audio cutting out either. John says, me and you paid for full self-driving in full. If Tesla needs upgrades to the hardware system, who should pay? I think Tesla should. Yeah. I mean, I paid, it's more money now, but, I paid a lot of money for FSD, and I expect it to do the things they said it would do. So if they need to, if there are, it's now seeming like maybe there aren't headlight cameras, but maybe there will be, that might be the thing that, makes or breaks it. And Elon says, well, it's not, financially, viable to do that. Well, tough if that's what it takes to do it. Then everybody's getting new headlights, and it's just going to be expensive for them. But they've been, sitting on that invested money, and haven't recognized it all. So, that's, presumably gaining interest somewhere. Maybe not, the way the market's been the last few months, but so I mean, I'm not going to hammer them for being late, but I would if, let's say hardware 4 fixes everything, and and hardware 3 just stays where it is now. Some people have suggested maybe then you would get, if you buy a new vehicle or trade in for a new vehicle, you would get FSD, free transferred to that new vehicle. That's kind of, I can see that, that maybe being okay, but not even really, I guess. I would want them to do everything they could to make the vehicle I have do the things they said it would be able to. So that's how I feel about it. We'll see where it goes. I mean, especially once hardware 4, starts being delivered. If we start seeing drives of people going from, New York to LA with no disengagements, and we're still having a lot of disengagements, that's going to be kind of a red flag of like, okay, good thing you've got a good amount of cash on hand, because you're going to need to start the retrofit thing going. Excuse me. Todd says stream is going great. 1 or 2 buffers at the beginning. Okay, thanks. Good to know. Paul says by far the longest it's ever been. Oh, he's talking about the pulsing. Sorry, I'm behind. It's because I'm rambling. By far the longest it's ever been in the 4 years since getting my Model Y. I worry this will get negative attention from NHTSA. I do hope the single stack V11 is actually even better on highway. Yeah, that would be great. I think, there's obviously a lot of headlines and a lot of press about the NHTSA and Tesla, and all the headlines were recall and people thinking that Beta was just going to be stripped off of the cars. Um, but in the communications, um, there's some language about how they're working together, and I think maybe this is me being Pollyanna, but I have a feeling in the real world, um, they're sharing data and saying, okay, yeah, it's not perfect, but look at this. There was one, I don't know if it might have been in the version 11 notes that have been posted, um, that it's going to do more about cross traffic or people running red lights. And by tweaking this parameter, or like 52% or something of the um, accidents that happen to Teslas are people running red lights, cross traffic or turning traffic that's running red lights. And by changing this one parameter, they were going to be able to mitigate that by 42% or something like that. And so I have to imagine NHTSA is looking at that and saying, okay, sure, this isn't driving itself perfectly, and there's things we need to address, and yeah, you need to address those things. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, this is going to save us accidents and make the road safer, and that's the ultimate goal. So hopefully that is that's going to happen. Am I out in the country? No, I'm not. I'm in a southern suburb of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And on a few people have asked, well, why did you get it? It's meant for people in the country. Because early in the Starlink days, there was a concern that they were not going to be able to, they weren't going to have enough subscribers to make it viable to do this global thing that eventually, once it gets rolling, it's going to be great. And so I put my name on the website of like, I'm interested, let me know when it's available in my area. Knowing that I'm in a suburb and it might not be for years. I think it was 13 or 14 months between when I signed up and when they said, hey, it's available to order. Then I think it was like another month or so before I actually got it and installed it. But, I made sure to not I did it obviously in hopes of getting better than the crappy Comcast service I was getting, but also in hopes of, like I said, contributing to kind of the mission of bringing internet to more rural areas. And if people in the suburbs are paying for it so that somebody in Montana or, Africa or whatever can get it because the whole system got up and running, then, that's kind of my reasoning behind that. Magic Dock Supercharger has finally been installed and activated in New York. It's not in the app yet, so only Tesla charging. No way to pull out CCS adapter yet. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Pretty exciting. There's showing. I can show this again here. So this is Anthony Henson EV at Anthony Henson EV on Twitter. I'm going to mute him here. So he lives nearby. I had to go check it out. You can see, he actually pulls it out, not the CCS piece, but you can see, for us, it will just, for Tesla owners, it will just, disconnect like normal. So we won't see a difference. So let me see if he answered I guess somebody else already did. But anyway, hey, I was just looking at that and not showing you. Sorry, I forgot to click the button. Here, look up my nose while I watch something, guys.
All them all today,
So he's
as
at
you
the
can see.
At the new Supercharger in New York, and yep, just unplugs like normal, and that stays in. So yeah, pretty cool. I'm really excited to see these rolling out across the country, across the Dakotas, and actually, I have a friend who bought a Mach-E. He's coming on 2 years now, at least. And when he bought it, I was like, Electrify America is going to cover. He's got family south of Fargo, kind of right on the South Dakota border. There is no CCS charging out there. But I was like, the interstate's going to have it in, by the end of this year. And Electrify America it's dragging their feet putting new stations in. EVgo just put their first one in Minnesota, but it's in the Twin Cities. And so he's had this vehicle for a while, and I think they've managed to get it out to the farm a couple times, but I'm sure it's a pain in the butt. So, especially in bad weather like this. So, unfortunate. Hope Tesla does some of these more rural areas. It would instantly open up both Dakotas and Montana to a world of other drivers. So, would be cool. Steve, you're probably gone already, but thanks for stopping by, and thanks for your comments earlier on the Magic Dock and this location. Paul, good night. If you're gone too, sorry I missed that. I'm running behind. Thank you for joining. Michael says, I think it wouldn't be just the headlights. They would basically have to take apart the entire car and rewire all the electronics. Yeah, they'd have to figure some way to get creative. And that's where I think they looked at it and said, yeah, that's going to be too expensive. But if they don't do it and it doesn't achieve the level of full self-driving as described when people purchased it, I can see a lot of lawsuits, class action lawsuits, and them kind of being forced to do it. Depending on what they offer, I don't know if I'd want to join in on that. But I want it to work, and I want it to work the way it described. It doesn't. I don't know that I need it to be the level of where I can go to sleep in it, but I want it to be fairly close to that. That's what that was, at least my vision. I'd have to go look at the exact wording of things, but I've got a daughter who's got special needs, and she'll never be able to drive on her own. And so again, part of paying probably too much for FSD is, helping that flywheel of technology move forward, testing it in an area where there aren't a ton of testers. So I would like, maybe not when she's 16, but maybe when she's 18, 20, to be able to, if she wants to go visit a friend or visit grandma or, something, I would like to be able to put her in a vehicle, know she's going to be safe, and get there. And part of that depends on her development and everything too. But the vision for me is partially my I get to test this tech and experience it too. But the potential it has to make safer roads. I have a video about YFSD, and it's about a motorcycle accident I was in. So that's the safety part of it, but also the huge amount of freedom it would give the elderly and disabled people could make a huge difference. I do think it's too expensive right now, though. John, it's interesting Tesla's not union, but the White House opened up to him on the Superchargers. Well, I think that kind of gets back to the playing nice. I think it's kind of good to see both sides playing nice, and the president has goals of how many EV chargers he wants, across the country. There's the funding for it in the Inflation Reduction Act law, or whatever they call it now. So there's money for it, but they need somebody who can execute. And Tesla's shown they can execute and spend money wisely while doing that. Installing their stations is a lot less. So by giving a little into, it's Tesla and Elon, but we're going to achieve our goal, we'll be able to say we helped fund all these new stations opening up. It's a win-win. So I think they're just kind of, looking the other way on that. Apparently GM don't want to leave the infrastructure and charging. Yeah, they're not leading very much right now. Michael's into FSD at 10K. Yeah, I think we got it at 7 because of when we pre-ordered the Model Y. John got it for 6. He's got to brag. If it's truly hands-off, then I think I'll be okay with Hardware 3. Yeah, I think I would be too. I don't know. I don't sleep in the car when other people are driving, so I don't know that I'd need to get to that point. But if I can do other things and, door to door, it just does the drive, and maybe I can edit a video or, play with my daughter or, whatever. If it could do that stuff, that would be pretty great. But then you have weather events like today where I shoveled about 6 inches of snow at about 1:30 in the morning last night. And by 7 in the morning, there were 8 more inches. So, maybe they just get taken offline. Like, people shouldn't really be traveling in that anyway until the roads are clear. Which, shout out to the Burnsville road management team. Our road is completely clear, and once you get out of our neighborhood, the main road, the sun came out and dried it off even today. So just an amazing job they did on a pretty big snow event. Michael says, one interesting thing about the government funding is the thing about saying one app should be able to let users pay at all chargers. So that is interesting, but I think that's going to take a while to get off the road or get off the ground. Zach and Jesse from Now You Know did a story on that this week, and they were kind of like, that app's never going to happen, because they were saying, in the White House statement, they talked about people would be able to use the Tesla app and website, with these new Magic Dock stations, and that kind of goes that seems contrary to the other part of the statement of, you'll be able to use one app and it will talk to whatever network you're using. And so they were kind of joking about that, and like, yeah, it'll be one app to rule them all, and great. Who's going to build it? How are they going to get everybody to talk to each other? When will that actually happen? And so they're again, leaning on Tesla, who has an app, has the ability to do this today. I think it's a win for maybe not exactly what they want long term, but it's a win for the administration to say, people are already, charging easier. You can do it right from an app, and in the meantime, people are still going to have to use the Electrify America app, the other apps too. But I think leaning on Tesla, it opens up stations that are easy. Maybe they can get some app development help too in making that. Well, that'll be interesting to see. But I think that's a down the road. I would see that as a maybe 2026 kind of thing. I don't see it really happening at the speed the government develops apps. I can't see that happening too soon. So may as well use Tesla, the other T company name. May as well use Tesla in the meantime. Apparently Tesla doesn't drag their butts on Superchargers. Look how many new chargers we've had in Minnesota in the last 6 months. Yeah. They're going like crazy. Seems like a lot are going in Florida right now. Always more going in California too, but I suppose you go where the weather's warm when you can do them. How many Tesla Superchargers are there in Minnesota right now? Let's take a look, because I made a graphic for my last video about that. So I need to show you. So it depends on if you count Grand Forks and Fargo, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 23, and then 25 if you count Grand Forks and Fargo. So pretty good. Hey John, welcome. Well, at least you caught it. I keep missing John's live streams. So Minnesota's getting pretty well covered. We've got a big gap here that needs some filling, and then it would be nice to get maybe one here and one here somewhere, or International Falls. I don't know. The main routes are pretty well covered, and Tofty, this one up here, is going to open up in, I think it's Q3 this year. So that will be huge. That will be a great connective. I mean, it'll get you all through here easily. But also if you're going into Canada through up to Thunder Bay. Again, I'm pointing on the wrong screen. This is the Tofty station. But it'll get you all the way up to Thunder Bay. So that will be cool. I've been talking to a few people about how it would be really cool to do the drive around Lake Superior. Jim, the Iowa Tesla guy, he was on earlier. He went to all of the Great Lakes last year. I think it was last summer. And so he's got little vials of water from each of the lakes, which is kind of cool. But I've just always wanted to drive around Lake Superior and have never done it. And it would be kind of a cool thing to do this summer. I'm looking for non-expensive but exciting road trips for this summer. I'm considering the Grand Canyon, but it might be beyond the budget of time and money to drive down there and everything. But we'll see. Michael says, if Tesla doubles the charging stall count in 2 years, wonder if the prices will go down as chargers are not as busy. Maybe if everybody charges at home, day to day. That could. They're also talking, and this might be something we see on March 1st too, that more stations are going to get like some solar and storage on site. Maybe it's just the big, 50 stall places that'll be in California and in bigger population areas. But it would be cool if that starts rolling out and they can start to wind down some of that price and share the love a little bit. That'd be great. Hey, Jason. Good to see you. Ish. Be nice to see one up on the Iron Range. Big hole up there. Yeah. John's gone up to northern Minnesota a couple times this winter. And yeah, somewhere, Virginia or Hibbing, and then International Falls, and then maybe Roseau would be great. It'll be interesting if those actually happen. So really, those were the big. I'm sorry for the folks who were late, but we just talked about the Magic Dock. It's exciting that it's actually rolling out. The site seems to have. Originally this morning on Twitter when I saw it, it looked like just one station or one pedestal at the station had it, but someone earlier had said it's all stations, and I've seen a video where you can see at least 4 of them. So that's pretty exciting. It'll be interesting to see as that rolls out how it works. Might be, like we were talking about earlier, it might be the case where we're testing this one out because it's close to Buffalo, and if things go wrong, if stuff gets broken, we can fix it quickly. So it'll be interesting to see if, maybe tomorrow we see, they did another one here or another one there. I don't think they'd have to do any different groundwork other than just bolting on the new pedestals, or maybe just taking the face off and redoing the connection point. It'll be interesting to see if we get any more detail on that, or if some of the supercharger, snoops out there find any plans for it. John asked if I saw the article where Tesla wants to buy unlimited supercharging cars for $5,000 credit they give people off if they buy a new S or X. I didn't read it, but I've heard some of that. Basically, just that. I don't know. I guess if I was looking to upgrade anyway and could afford an S or X, then I would probably take that deal. If we still had our 2015 Model S, it would be near 200,000 miles. And it was great that it had free supercharging, but I don't know. At 120,000 miles, it was holding up just fine, so I don't know why I would trade other than we wanted to move into the Model Y. I don't know. I guess it all depends on what the free supercharging is worth to you. If you travel a lot, it's probably great. Or if you live in an apartment, it's probably great. But, our trips are a little bit expensive, but if you can charge at home and you do, then it's not really no reason to keep a car you would want to trade in just for that, in my opinion. So if they give you a bonus, I would think that's fine. Michael says most of the locations here in South Florida are 4 or 8 stall. I haven't been to a location with big numbers. Interesting. I'm trying to think of how far. I guess Orlando. Orlando's the furthest south, which isn't very far south in Florida that I've driven. Some of the panhandle stalls were 4 pedestals. But I think now that Bucky's is putting them in, it's 16 or more at every location there. Um, let's see. All right. Good night. Thank you. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Um, thanks, John. Um, yeah. So that's basically all I wanted to talk about today, and went on about it for about an hour and a half. But if there's another topic or something else going on, if you saw the event last night and have some other thoughts about it, let me know. Yeah, a large one opened up in Orlando. Yeah, I think, yeah, it seems like Florida's got quite a few of them. Oh, thanks, John. Um, super sticker. Let's see what this is. Thank you again, John. Lemon character raising both of his thumbs up. Excellent. Thank you for that. Um, yeah, I don't. Again, I'll reference Brandon Flash just had a video where he's been spending the last couple days in a Model 3, an LFP Model 3 in Texas, and he's stopped almost exclusively, I think, at Bucky's. He may have done one Circle K, which is he works for them, so it would make sense to do that. But yeah, he did like a drone flyover of just this monster Bucky's install. I can't remember. I want to say 36 Superchargers. I might have that wrong, but yeah, he got the drone up and everything, and was just kind of looking at a really nice install of tons of charging. 100 gas pumps too, but you got to put them somewhere. Uh, it's not the middle finger either. Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I hope for those of you who went through the storm, it wasn't too bad for you. Michael, I don't think you had that problem in Florida. This storm didn't come to you. Do I know what he does for his day job? He drives a crazy amount of miles. I'm assuming you mean Brandon Flash. He works for Circle K, and I can't remember if they're the parent company, but there's a few different like gas station brands that are kind of under that envelope, and he helps design their charging locations. So as they're putting in EV charging, he'll kind of do the site plan, figure out where the best place, which is good to have an EV driver, an experienced EV driver, say, no, that's a terrible spot to put this. And so he kind of works with, what the code regulations are, and then the site map, and comes up with the best place to put them, and the layout of EV charging. Apparently, the North Branch Supercharger in Minnesota, which, Michael, you would know where that is. I can. This one is apparently under their umbrella, and I think it's a holiday, so I don't know if all holidays are under that branch too. But yeah, he does a lot of driving around to help commission the stations, make sure they're being installed properly, test them out, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's cool, and I don't know exactly how much he can say about it, but it would kind of be cool to like do an interview with him, like just on like what that's like, because I've talked to him privately at events and stuff about that, and it's pretty fascinating to me. But I don't know how much of that is stuff he would necessarily want shared broadly. Um, he doesn't really talk about it on his channel because I don't think I can't imagine Circle K would want someone YouTubing about their job as an employee. So yeah, I think he kind of keeps that separate on his channel. When I stopped at the North Branch Supercharger on the last video, was it iced? No, I don't think so. I think it was all open. I'd have to go back and look at the footage, but just rewatch the video, John. But yeah, does anybody else have any questions or anything? Yeah, like I said, I've been in shoveling land most of the week, so I don't have a regular video for this week, unfortunately. Just I didn't have the time between keeping up with the snowfall and then my daughter being home from school they had Monday off as like a teacher work day or something. She was in school Tuesday, then off Wednesday, Thursday. Now she's going back tomorrow for one more pickup day. So I've kind of been in dad mode rather than editing mode, but more stuff coming next week. We'll see what it is. I have a couple ideas in the hopper, and we'll get to that. So, but thank you all very much for joining. If nobody has anything else, thank you again for watching, and have a great night. Happy road tripping. If you'd be interested, I was thinking before the Magic Dock thing happened today, I was thinking it might be fun to do a live stream of planning a big trip, like maybe to Grand Canyon. But if there's a location you're planning on going, like Michael's in Florida, and let's say he wants to, road trip up to Maine or something. He probably has his way of doing it, but I'm just saying, like, if somebody has a trip they're thinking of and a little unsure about it, might be fun to kind of look through like a better route planner or a couple other options and see if we can find a best plan of attack, or I might just do a road trip I'm doing and answer questions about how I think through that kind of stuff. But anyway, let me know if that would be something interesting to you. And again, usually I do live streams the last Wednesday of every month. Forgot last month, and I missed last night because of the storm. But it's getting very dry down here. Again, thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the good conversation in the chat. It's always great to hear other people's opinions because I certainly do not know everything, and it's great to get other EV owners or potential EV owners' opinions and input on things. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a great night. And now I remember how to end this. Thank you. Good night.